Let me ask you a question. What's a defining album, movie, or trend from the 2020s? Can you even think of one? Because I can't. Pop culture used to be a collective experience, but nowadays, it's completely personalized. The cultural landscape has shattered with the way that we consume media nowadays. Everyone is in their own bubble, and with that, modern pop culture is pretty much dead. Over the years, you could say that media had its own gatekeepers from their own respective mediums. TV was ran by its own networks, the movie studios were the ones holding it down for movies, and for music, it were the radio stations and the record labels. Everyone tuned into the same shows weekly, everyone went to the theaters for the new blockbuster, and everyone heard the new songs on the radio. These premieres and releases were things that people actually planned their lives around to attend and experience these types of moments. When people would go back to work and school on Mondays, the conversations that were happening were most of the time based around what everyone just saw that Sunday night or what everyone was hearing on the radio when they were experiencing their weekends. But eventually, that's when social media came around. However, when social media was still in its early stages, everything was all based off of chronological order. People would scroll on the Facebook, their newsfeed, they would go on Twitter, an actual legit timeline, or Instagram, and they would see pictures and posts that people were making, their friends, their family, and everything was coming up just as it was happening. Things are always going to evolve, and the way that TikTok was able to enter in the social media space and create the For You page, which just completely shifted everything, is just so wild to see, because they have this algorithm that literally feeds you content that it feels like you're gonna like, but most of the time you actually are, and it just knows you better and better. And of course, every platform is gonna wanna do that same kind of thing once it saw the success that TikTok was having. So then Instagram joins along, Twitter joins along, and now you have For You pages everywhere. You have these dedicated algorithms everywhere, and everything is just being fed to you rather than things being seeked out for yourself. And now in this present time, with all of this happening, no one's seeing the same stuff anymore. There's just no more shared feeds anymore. There just isn't. There could be two different people in the same household that don't even see the same outside world because of how different their algorithms are. You don't always see what's happening now. You're just seeing what's gonna keep you scrolling more and more. We stopped having shared moments and now have custom curated realities. And I'm not hating on the algorithms, because I will say that it is pretty cool that if you're really into basketball, you can go on TikTok and see some cool edits. If you're really into a specific type of art, you can go on Instagram and you're probably gonna be able to see more and more of that. Of course, there's always gonna be the cons to it though, because now there's just no types of general information happening. Everything's gonna be very niche specific. Creators that wanna do stuff, it's just tough to talk about anything now. You have to talk about like a specific thing. Everything is just so tailored to specific audiences now, because what's the point of making it so general if it's not even gonna reach those people to begin with? Like, you could literally go viral, but still be invisible. Like a TikTok could go, hit 10 million views. 10 million, that's a lot of views. This person may have never even heard or seen that ever in their entire life. The Harlem Shake, Gangnam Style, even the Mannequin Challenge, like those stuff just don't happen now. You literally can't have that work. Like there just isn't those wide scale trends anymore. We don't have those moments anymore where people are truly stopping everything that they're doing to solely focus in on that. Like as a community. The Beatles being on the Ed Sullivan Show, the finale of Seinfeld, even if you want to count Avengers Endgame, you have all these different little moments where it truly was an actual moment, despite what the generation was at the time. Like, we still kind of have these modern moments, but they're still so segmented where it just doesn't have that type of feel, that impact, that kind of buzz that everyone's feeling. And on a slightly different topic, the current obsession with nostalgia is just the cherry on top to why modern pop culture is just not here. We're being nostalgic for times that did have these defining moments. You know what I mean? Like, we are trying to experience that feeling we once had once again because it's just not here anymore. But it's like, that's also, it's like a paradox. Like, the way that we are not able to have our own moments and seeking out old moments and trying to make them a new moment now is killing the creation and like the way to actually form these new moments like as one now. Does that even make sense? I might just leave that take in. We don't even have defining things. Remember the question I asked you in the beginning? We don't have these defining moments, so we just are trying to get that kind of satisfaction that we got from something that we did have at one point, but those were the defining moments for those times, and we are not gonna have any moments to even look back at for this current time because everything was just not original. Like, when we talk about the past, we know what we're talking about because of these moments that happened. But when you look back at the 2020s, of course there's gonna be those like world events that were happening, but on like a pop culture side, there's just so much out there. You know, you can mention this or that, but that person might know it like that or this. They're not gonna know what you're talking about because everyone's living in their own world. So that's my ramble for you guys today. I would just always find this so interesting because I mean, you just heard me ramble. I mean, I can get really passionate about this because it's wild to me that we will look back at the 2020s and not have that. And it's kind of cool, but also kind of weird because this video probably stumbled upon you through an algorithm pushing it to you because it knew that you liked pop culture. So yeah, thanks for watching.